Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
We're back with Compass Yellow Mike.
Compass Yellow,
and
baby.
Rivian Randy, still hyped after the Rivian event. We
Man,
had R1,
shout out to
R2,
all of you
R3,
guys for
RJ.
They were
So many R's.
RJ. Shout out to our listeners and viewers. What a cool, you got, the comments, maybe not a lot of comments, but a lot of people watched that video or listened to that podcast.
Oh, they did?
So that tells me you guys are just as excited as old Rivian Randy here.
No, they did.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good amount.
I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That tells me,
I've got to update.
one, people are excited about things when we don't talk about Tesla. I'm with you. And two, it's also that people genuinely, I think they liked the event. They liked what was going on. Even the cynics and skeptics liked that there was something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But to the
No,
person who told me
there
to just
was a
keep
lot.
my Model 3 and don't sell anything, I hear you. I'm not selling this year. I'm not selling next year. But I can't promise I won't always. Maybe I don't know if I said this on the record. I know I've talked to you guys extensively about this, but I don't think I would ever actually maybe sell my Model 3. Well, because it's completely paid off, 1 and 2. That could be my son's first car, and I have that on the back of my head about giving him an EV for his first car. So that's something I got to figure out within the next 15 years. So I'm not too worried about it, but
Time's ticking.
if I've never said that on the record, if I don't sell my Model 3, it's because it's going to stay in the family and I will one day give it to my son. So there you go.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise.
You're gonna give your car to Randy's son.
That's right.
He's going to have so many cars.
Which 3 do I want to take today? Well, this one I can still charge to 100%. So I'm going with
Lithium
that.
ion versus lithium iron.
Right.
Or lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah.
Some things that,
He has options.
since we're kind of talking about Rivian and we're still riding the wave of that, it seems like we've gotten a little bit more tidbits from a better route planner regarding the range / efficiency of the R2 and R3 and potentially R3X, in which, again, to look at you again, Drew, don't put that much stock into these numbers, but it hints that they are pretty well off in regards to efficiency and range.
Mm-hmm.
I like both
think
those
so.
things.
Specifically,
Yeah.
well, what were you going to say?
I should
Atlantically.
update everyone. I should update everyone that I don't know if it was because of my video, because I did post it pretty quickly after those A Better Route Planner numbers came out. But the A Better Route Planner Twitter account prefaced that these were estimated efficiency numbers by the team. They were not told specific numbers from Rivian. They tweeted that after I posted the video.
Your
So I
video.
felt really bad after the fact
it was your
because I was like, okay, I would have included that. I would have said something if you said that earlier. I think A Better Route Planner, like, okay, you guys are great, fantastic app and everything, but you probably shouldn't just put like hyper specific efficiency numbers as a guess, or at least there should be some little squiggly that says around this. But at least according to the R2, which I'm grateful Rivian is still appears to be sharing it around. Like they're doing a little cross-country road
love
trip
it.
with it.
I believe they're in Austin.
Like what
right
they
now.
did
showing
with
it
the
at different
Cybertruck.
places.
I love that it's
Yeah.
a celebrity.
Except like right after the unveiling instead of, 2 years after the unveiling.
Yeah.
They're being pretty open about it. Like, hey, everybody, come check it out. And one of the little tiles continues to show. I think it's a static, so it's not a dynamic tile. But one of the tiles still says they're expecting the average to be around the 3 miles per kilowatt hour range. So while the efficiency numbers probably aren't as good as A Better Route Planner is stating, I think they are probably still in the ballpark. With the R2 getting in the low 3 miles per kilowatt hour and the R3 being close to 4 miles per kilowatt hour. I'm not quite convinced it'll be 4.5, just because that sounds insanely good. And
For a boxy design. Or somewhat
yeah,
boxy
for a
design.
boxy design, I have a hard time looking at that, imagining it having similar efficiency to my Model 3, because I'm like, you are.
Have
I mean,
you no
you're
imagination, Drew? Just succumb to it and make yourself 100% Rivian boy. Just do it. Just do it.
They're gonna, yeah, like I said, Tesla's really got me boxed in here with the referral program. I think Rivian should get a referral program, but
I guarantee they will do one.
they have to
They will.
at a certain point.
They absolutely
Mike,
will.
have you come up with any uses for referral credits recently?
I finally used them. For one, I'm doing a trip on Saturday to Nevada, and so I'm using,
Oh.
I think, 1,200 of them for 500 miles of free
Nevada?
supercharging. So that'll be
Nice.
nice. Nevada? Yeah, Nevada. And then along with that, what was it? Oh, right. Tickets for the Fremont factory became a thing again on the referral program.
Yes.
And so I got in, grabbed them, and allows up to 4 guests, in which, Randy, you're more than welcome to come. But we have no...
We're gonna see the bot.
We have
building all the Teslas.
we have no clue on when the tour is, and along with that, I'm sure we could talk about whatever, because I'm able to talk about. It'd be kind of weird if we had to sign an NDA about you can't talk about anything that you saw in there, especially when there's videos and other stuff going on. But this is to be honest, or not to be honest, but to be frank, this is a long time coming for me, because when I took delivery of my Model Y nearly 4 years ago, by the way, happy 4-year birthday to the Model Y. It's been in production for 4 years as of this week of recording.
Congratulations.
When I was taking delivery of mine, or when I was talking with the delivery specialist, he was saying that they would give me a free factory tour for receiving delivery of my car this early, or during this uncertain time of the pandemic. Unfortunately, I never got it in writing, and I don't know if that individual still works at Tesla. So
Probably not.
the offer is pretty much gone, but this is my kind of quote-unquote redemption arc for being able to go back into the factory, in which I'm really excited, especially since I got to tour the Rouge facility that Ford has up in Michigan. So that way I can have some compare and contrasting on what 100 plus years, I think it's 100, isn't it? No, it's not 100 years. It's like 70, 60, many decades of building vehicles in that factory.
A long time.
And then
A good while.
yeah, and then consistently F-150s. But comparing that to what Tesla has going on at the Fremont factory, it's going to be a lot more chaotic, because they've got 4 different vehicles being built there with a whole bunch of different configurations. So I don't expect it to be as impressively fast, but still impressive enough. So yeah, you fished it out of me, Drew. That's what I'm using with my referral credits. In which, thank
That's
you to
awesome.
you for using my referral codes. Then that way I could have this opportunity. And thank you, most importantly, to those that use the referral code that Drew put mine on his
Whoever's
videos.
out there.
There's a whole bunch. I've named them all off on my X/Twitter account. If you felt like I haven't mentioned it at all on the podcast, it's because I'm mentioning it on social media. Go check it out. If you have taken delivery using my code, please take a picture of your car. You don't have to take a picture of yourself. Please take a picture of your car and show me. Let me know that you got it and that you're very happy about it, because it excites me that you got one of the best cars in the business, which is the Model
People
Y.
should just send you a picture of like a total Model Y.
I'm fine with
Just
that
to
too.
deliver it.
I mean, not happy about it, but at least you got to
Thanks
enjoy
to
it
your
for a little
code,
bit.
I used full self-driving beta 12. It's great. It's like completely ripped in half. That's fun.
No, but I'm excited.
Would you like to see the Austin factory if possible too?
I think it'd be neat. I think that's something that we should probably schedule between the three of us at some point. Find some time that we all
I
can
don't know. I
head
think
off.
I'm on some type of list to get kicked out of there again.
They won't. They don't know your name.
Did you try to sell a Cybertruck
Oh yeah, there you
without
go.
permission?
Not I.
Did you see they were cracking down on that though?
It's kind of scary and kind of weird.
It is weird.
Blacklisting you from ordering. Is it ordering any vehicle or is it just Cybertrucks?
Yeah.
And okay. Wow.
Your account gets flagged and they never will sell you a car again.
Time to make a
Darn,
new
if you're ever
account.
looking for a reason to go get a Rivian,
Rivian should tweet that. They should brag about it. Sorry that Tesla blacklisted you for trying to sell
Kobe.
your car. Can we interest you in an R3?
Or by
you know, our truck has been on the market much longer and it has blah 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 blah, and we've addressed our quality control issues. Blah 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 blah.
you can buy our cars on Cars and Bids.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's kind of the same sentiment of Jim Farley saying you can go charge other EVs, such as your friends with a Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh, great
Ford.
times.
What are you gonna do?
To rope it back, I wanted to rope it
Yeah.
back a little bit into Rivian. I don't know if you guys noticed, it doesn't have the tow hitch on the R2 and R3.
Yeah, I didn't see them on the prototypes. They do have these like accessory mounting points, which is like I guess a custom kind of Rivian thing that they say doesn't require any tools and should be pretty easy and intuitive. But I think it was through an Instagram comment Rivian clarified that they will have towing options.
Boom.
Okay.
They just didn't. I don't think they made it very clear at the event, but yeah, there's been weird little follow-up comments. Like RJ on Twitter, I think this morning or yesterday also said that they on the R2 platform they will have heat pumps,
Mm-hmm.
which is the first we've heard of it because they don't have heat pumps on the R1. Probably okay because they're such big vehicles. The heat pump probably doesn't make a huge impact on a car that big, but on the smaller vehicles it does make a big difference. So that's why it's good to know that they're switching to a more efficient HVAC system. Man, yeah, Rivian just feels so much more real after this event. I definitely was a lot more sold on an R3 after they said that the front row seats do fold flat. They clarified that, so I was like, car camping in a mini car. I don't know.
Carping.
I told one of my coworkers about that, and he was laughing at it, saying, "Why would they prioritize the front seats folding down? Who are they trying to sell this to?" And immediately in my mind, I thought
Camping.
I got a buddy who really
it's so
who wants
so
to car camp a
helpful.
bunch. Though I would say the tent that was spotted in one of the showrooms, or at least either in one of the Rivian spaces or somewhere else, the tent on top of the R2/R3 does look really spacious.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
No,
it
looks
does.
Huge. And I heard it's powered. I heard them say it can do. It's a heated mattress, and or you can connect electronics through it and power it and stuff. It sounded very, very fancy. Probably too complicated and expensive. I hope it doesn't become the next kitchen tunnel, because that never went anywhere.
Right. Yeah, well, it's also another funny thing. Do you think they'll ever get to that? Because they mentioned at the event for R2 and R3 that they would offer some accessories, or they've got some hookups in the back of R2 and R3 for accessories that require power. Do you think
Yeah.
we'll see the R2, R3 version of the camp kitchen first before the R1S and R1T version?
I believe I saw an interview with Electrek where he asked about that, and I think RJ said that there is kind of a revamp of the kitchen that will launch before the R2 launches, and it'll be available for the R1 vehicle. So
Okay.
he said we didn't want to like formally announce it because we're proud of it, and this was more about R2 and R3. But eventually, we'll get to that, and I think that'll come out before R2. That's the hardest thing about all this, like, because I know everyone was like, Drew, R3 is for you, and yes, I do love it, but we're gonna be in such a different EV market by the time these ship. That's my biggest concern. Like, I'm glad that they paused the Georgia plant and they say they want to build R2 in normal. I'm just surprised that building R2 in normal still takes 2 years. I thought that would have sped up a little bit more. Like, I'm not saying start delivering this year, but like end of next year would have been more exciting or more practical to me. The fact that they're still saying, nah, start of 2026. Hopefully they're sandbagging. That would be cool.
Well,
But
here's something to consider. It took them a year for, sorry, not them. It took Tesla a year between unveiling the Model Y and getting it produced. And that was with 70,
that's right.
quote unquote, 70% of the parts from the Model 3.
Yeah.
Now you
That's a good
take
point.
even less coinciding parts or similar parts for a new platform, having to develop a new platform, having to develop new batteries. This isn't even like,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit more structural.
Who's
than
making
the
those
last.
cells?
Exactly.
We still don't know.
So a whole new platform that they have to produce, and then all of the tooling and all of the parts that have to have to get finalized in design and production and all that, and then pilot production and all that. It's going to take them a while. So I think 2 years it's a generous estimate in my opinion, but it is possible.
Well, it's possible. It's just not preferred to me. I'm just like, I want these things sooner because I hate to address the elephant in the room because I know everyone hates when we talk.
You always
about
talk about
Tesla.
these elephants. I don't see any.
A lot of elephants. By the time R3 comes out, Tesla's next generation vehicle might be out, which means R3 pricing might not sound as great as it does today. You know, we could be looking at a very different EV landscape.
Do you think? Let me rephrase what I was about to ask. Does that? Yeah, no. Let me rephrase it again. Should it matter? Should it matter?
Should what? What's the it?
Whatever Tesla's doing.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Tesla's the one holding up the charging infrastructure for all these companies.
Yes.
So
It's
what Tesla
an open
does,
standard now.
But
it is. But there's over 15 to over 20,000 NACS superchargers that are carrying the weak CCS vehicles.
What does that have to
And-
do with a Tesla vehicle versus a Rivian vehicle?
I'm saying, does what Tesla does matter? And I'm saying, yeah. I mean,
No.
but not with the car. It doesn't matter what they're doing with their car because it's maybe it's naivety. Is that the word? Naivety.
Naivety.
sure,
We are.
that works.
These guys are in separate lanes altogether about like the product.
One's off the
itself.
road, Randy.
Huh?
They're not even in separate lanes. One's off the
on
road.
Yeah.
And one's in the dirt.
But when you think about like Tesla pushing out Model 3 and then Model Y, they I don't see those cars today competing with like the R1 platform that is the only platform you can buy right now. It's its own thing. And so by the time we get to 2026, 2026, it's going to be I think it was you, Drew, or one of you. That's like, it's going to be the Civic of cars or the Accord of cars, the Camry of cars. Like it
Already
Tesla's is already out there everywhere. Well, you have a more of a skewed vision because you live in the Bay Area, so it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I can confidently say that it's definitely like it's Tesla already hit like we're they're not gonna get like substantially so much bigger as a company, as a brand, as a market share, or even as like stock cost if you wanted to buy into it. Like they hit the growth a couple of years ago, and that was like whoa, that was the growth spurt that they hit. Now it's all about sustainability. It's about maintaining your margins and just cutting costs, making things cheaper. But much like an iPhone, being just an iPhone, every other EV company out here, equivalent to trying to compete with the main squeeze over there, is what do you have to offer that's going to make it be completely different from those guys? Because they are sexy cars, literally, and for what they offer, sexy. And you got companies that are like trying to smallest footprint possible, but still make it a truck, like Tesla. Which congratulations, guys, on your funding. You got
Invite us back. Let's hang out.
yeah.
Hey, well, I guess
do it.
for those that don't know, they got all of their seeding funding, and then along with that, around the same time,
$5.5 million.
yeah, $5.5 million. That's amazing. And along with that, they got a new board member who was probably one of the, or well, maybe not original, but early days of Tesla. It's was it Mike
Original,
or Mark?
original.
He's the original co-founder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before Elon joined Tesla.
Right.
But to be fair, Mark also should be noted. Mark left Tesla in 2008, so it's not quite, very different company when Mark was there
Right.
versus Tesla now. But yeah, original co-founder.
Right. So all these other companies, Aptera being another one, just by design language alone, all these other companies, their job is to stand out about offering something different. Not necessarily better, because better is subjective to what you are looking for as a use case. What's better to you won't be better to the other person. But we can all agree that the standard, the fallback, the floor pricing of it, like it's Tesla, like whatever. When you're thinking about a fully electric vehicle that's not legacy, you will resort to a Tesla first, and that is the benchmark of everything. And they've earned that. That's a good thing, and that's something that
Exactly.
they've earned. But
That was my point about the next gen.
yeah, but
They're the
with
standard.
that, the next gen is just like another iPhone upgrade today. It becomes to the point of diminishing returns. Next gen doesn't really have the same oomph as presenting the first crossover vehicle or sedan, or showing what a
lineup.
Cybertruck would look like, for better or for worse. Like all that stuff is now we're talking proper, incremental upgrades on everything that's relevant to make it more appealing, hopefully even at a better price. But at the end of the day, like now you're just talking about company specific stuff. I don't think whatever Tesla does affects what's happening now for the rest of the company or the rest of the EV startups in the same aspect that it would be like changing the charging standard again or something like that. Like that would have a ripple effect and a very big one. But
I guess
when
here's
it comes to
something to also go ahead. Sorry, Randy. Thought you were done
my
with the
conclusion is just like when we talk about the products themselves of what you're buying and the vehicles themselves, I think it's like every person for themselves. You're going to get where you're going to get, and it doesn't really have the same. It doesn't cannibalize anything. It doesn't affect anything, because at the end of the day, if we have the battery and we have the network and we have the accessibility of all of that together, then it's just pick your jersey. Which team are you going to rep when you go out there? We've talked about that. Like it's a bit of a representation of yourself. It doesn't really matter at that point what any of those other companies do if the actual foundation itself, the literal foundation, is taken care of. So I don't see that having any weight on what the costing of the vehicle. If anything, it's just going to make things more competitive in a better way for everybody, as competition normally does in the product department, but not in the sense where it's like, ooh, that's going to be more expensive, or it will or won't. It's that has nothing that will be a problem for Rivian 2 years from now if they're like, oh, we can't meet those numbers anymore, just like the Cybertruck, and then the market will decide what it will decide. Are you gonna keep your reservation for the R2? Are you gonna scrap it for something else? It'll be a different landscape altogether, but that doesn't necessarily matter based off of I had a reservation for that thing, and if you didn't uphold to that number, well then, then I'm gonna go do business somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So
One thing I wanted to add to that as well, Randy, is we know what the R2 and R3 are. We don't know what Tesla's next gen vehicle is. We know in the R2 and R3 you can fold flat all of the seats in the vehicle. Tesla's never had that. And who knows if they want to prioritize that in their next gen vehicle, even if it's either robo-taxi focused or even just like a Miata-esque system. I wouldn't think that Tesla would want to prioritize folding seats in the front because that's not their motive. Their motive is accelerating the world to sustainable energy,
right.
where Rivian's is be adventurous. And that adventurous mindset includes a lot of the features like folding front seats for in-car camping. So if you want something that offers something that you're interested in and that you want to explore more in your life, it seems like Rivian's the way to go for a lot of that because they are the more adventurous brand. Where Tesla is more of, we kind of have that pseudo premium feel, but we're going to try to get the car to you at the lowest cost possible, which means here's a lot of cost cutting measures that we're making.
Yeah.
I think there's overlap just because I think the main reason a lot of people like the R3 is because it's most likely at this point in time it's the cheapest Rivian. And that's one thing I've walked away from with EV ownership is this is all great. I love owning an EV. I just want it to be more affordable and accessible to the masses. So right now, R3 is kind of looked at as, well, this is the cheapest way to get into the Rivian brand, the Rivian family. And compared to today's prices, it sounds pretty good. But we've seen Rivian jack up prices last minute before. We've seen what happens when companies aren't making a profit on their vehicles. And sometimes the jersey isn't enough. I'm glad I'm not wearing the Fisker jersey right now.
You're wearing blue.
It's not like you just make your cars and then people will come. It doesn't matter. They don't compete with each other. It's like, yeah, but if you're not standing out enough in some particular way, I think the R3 will be okay because Rivian's got a really strong brand power. I'm not talking about Rivian not standing a chance. I'm just saying the original question was about my own personal like become Rivian boy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is like we're gonna right now the R3 is like wow super cheap entry price, but there's a lot of unknowns. Like Rivian didn't even want to give a ballpark price on the R3, and they didn't even want to give a ballpark timeline other than after R2, which means bare minimum 2.5 years out, more likely 3. And I just think, man, so much could change in that amount of time. Hopefully Rivian's still around in 3 years. I know they don't have the cash pile to be alive for 3 more years at this rate, so they're going to have to really rearrange some things, and I hope they make it. And I'll put out a video of all my suggestions on how they can cut costs or things they should consider doing.
I'm sure RJ will watch intently.
Yeah, he watches all my stuff, but I personally, like, you want my opinion? I think Rivian should do a capital raise right now, even though the stock's already been destroyed and hammered. I would say, well, no one's made a profit on this anyway, so let's just cut it in half. Let's raise the cash, secure the future of the company, gives new shareholders an even lower price to buy into, more potential for growth, kind of justifies the size of the company. I think it was way too overvalued when they IPO'd, but they need cash, and I know that would tick off shareholders to do a capital raise, but I think survival is more important for the long run.
I don't disagree. Outside the business function of it, we had a week now. How do we feel about Rivian as a whole? Were we overhyped? Did the hype wear down? Did it ramp up? What's our headspace about R2 and R3's announcement, R3 X and all that? Like just everything about the future of what their vision is right now, what they're working towards. How do we feel as a panel?
In terms of the state of Rivian as a company, I'm pretty much in the same mindset that it's going to be a tough road ahead. There's going to be some big boulders that we have to navigate, but I think it's possible for the brand. And like what Drew said, definitely some investing is needed for the company and or some smart financial decisions so that way they can make it 2 years in the future. In terms of what I said about the design of R3, after thinking about that for a while, it's probably it's on par or tied in my mind with what the Polestar 6 looks like, which is their roadster competitor. Both those designs I'm big fans of, and I think it's going to be... I'd have to look at both of them in person, but digitally, they're both very compelling and probably my favorite designs in the industry.
Yeah.
True.
No, I really love it, especially after we recorded last week and I saw more footage of it driving around in the wild. And it started to make me self-aware of how many situations in which having a little bit more ground clearance would be nice. There's been awkward, even just not off-roading, just like awkward parking lots where you bottom out on lower sedans and it's like, oh crap, we can't go in that way anymore, that's bad. Or you pull into a parking space and you're trying to make sure you fit, but then you go over the curb a little bit and you hear the bumper go. It's like, geez, this thing's too low to the ground. So little experiences like that have made me go, yeah, even if you're not like a Moab adventurer, sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit more ground clearance to work with and better approach and departure angles. So that made me think, oh man, do I want an R3? But I think my main point, which I already made earlier, is like there's going to be different options on the market by then, and the main thing that I'm most interested in for the future of electric vehicles is not so much the off-roading, not so much crazy good range or crazy fast charging, but just the affordability. It's like even a not fancy, simple EV like my own, which is like just not crazy range, not crazy performance, it's not super luxurious, but it's got the supercharger network. It can move as fast as you really need a car to move to get past traffic and everything. We just need this experience to be more accessible and to be more affordable to the masses. Because I keep running into people that are like, yep, all that's great. Can't afford that, though. That's way too much. And there's also a bunch of people in my personal life I keep running into that just are so anti-electric vehicle through so many means. It could be the repairability that concerns them. It could be the misinformation about batteries and they catch on fire, and I literally had a guy tell me they burn for 30 days when they catch on fire. And I was like, oh really? That's fascinating. I don't try to fight it anymore. I'm like, I'm not going to convince you of anything. But there's just a lot of people that I have run into in the past couple weeks where I'm like, man, how the heck are we going to convince this person to switch? And it's made me a little bit more bearish on the whole, EV thing. I don't think it's dying or going to go away, but I do think that the transition will take longer than I originally thought, and it might be a slower process for a lot of people, unless I think what would help the electrification transition the most, I mean, every little things help, of course. Education helps. Charging infrastructure helps. Rivian coming up with options, which, may I add, it's very wise of them to intentionally try to make cars that Tesla does not have.
Yes.
That's smart. And that's something Lucid should pay attention to. Don't just try to repeat what Tesla's already done, because then you have demand problems, and then there's too much overlap. So I agree with what you said earlier about how the R1 platform does its thing and Tesla does its thing. There's, even the R1T and Cybertruck, there's a lot of different, form factor approaches, design approaches. It's like, well, if you're this kind of guy, you might prefer the Rivian. If you're this kind of guy, you might prefer the Cybertruck. I'm grateful that companies are leaning into their advantages and not trying to copycat each other too much.
Yeah.
But I do think what would help the electrification transition the most is figuring out how to profitably just crank out a ton of, not the fanciest, not the fastest, not the best range, but just simple but reliable EVs that can DC fast charge at a somewhat reasonable speed and have access to the supercharger network. And I think that's probably Tesla's whole goal with the next gen vehicle. And I rewatched the Investor Day presentation just because it's been over a year now. And I don't know, something about watching it more into the future instead of live made it more exciting to me, because I'm realizing, like, okay, Tesla's already got all the money, so there's less of a doubt in my mind with Tesla about will they survive, will they make it. I'm like, Tesla would have to be pretty royally stupid to die at this point. But Rivian, even with intelligent leadership, could still not make it, just because they're in a very cash burn situation, and if they're not careful with how they burn the cash, there won't be an R2, there won't be an R3, simply because couldn't make the finances work. So I'm like, if Tesla's the one that finds a way to come out with a lower price, higher margin EV and just flood the market with this whole unboxed process and using steer by wire and a lot of the things they learned from the Cybertruck, and that allows them to assemble vehicles fundamentally differently than everybody else, that might change my perspective on the R3 a lot, because instead of me looking at it now as, wow, you can get a Rivian, which, you know, we all love Rivian, they've got the great brand. You can get a Rivian for so much cheaper. Why would I spend an extra $5,000 or $10,000 to get an R2 when the R3 is so good and it's the cheapest one? And I think that's part of the reason the R3 is winning all the polls and everyone wants the R3 as soon as possible. But if that narrative shifts by 2027 or whenever the R3 comes out, and it's now, oh, well, here's another compact car. We don't know what it is, but everyone seems to think it's going to be a compact car. If Tesla's compact car is much, much cheaper, will you want to spend the extra $10,000 for an R3 to get the better ground clearance, to get the front folding seats? Is those adventurous features worth the $10,000 to you? Of course, for some it will be, for some it won't. And I'm trying to figure out where I fall on that. I'm like, would I, knowing if there was a next-gen Tesla that maybe is even more futuristic or maybe a bit more Aptera-inspired, it's a bit more radically designed and doesn't have paint or something like that, I could visualize swaying me over. I'm like, do I really?
So you care about aesthetics over functionality?
I care about price more than everything. That's the fundamental. It's like, I will put up with a cheaper car that's uglier because it saves me money. It's like, well, I'll pay you $5,000 to like that design. Okay, I guess that's my favorite design. That's kind of where I'm at. And I know that after listening to Monroe a lot and talking with Aptera and Tello a lot, that paint shops are very pricey, very expensive. And I like the throwback feel of the R3, and because it's so far out and because the pricing is not set in stone, it's hard for me to get too in love with it, because I'm like, well, how much cheaper than the R2, you know? And like, if you still got a paint shop and you still got a fairly stylized interior, which is beautiful and lovely, and I think, like we talked about, there's a bunch of people that want to go electric but just do not want a Tesla, and that's totally fair, understandable. And depending on how Elon manages the company over the next few years, that might be like, okay, you know what? I don't want to be associated with this Tesla brand anymore. I'm going to move to a more friendly, you know.
See, that's why I actually
RJ,
think that
but
a company like Rivian is going to survive at the end of the day, because I won't underestimate the disdain that people have for Elon. And
no, it's a very valid point. I
Yeah.
agree. I think a lot of people,
and the more
especially those
RJ
Subaru
talks,
people-
the more I think he wins
Oh.
people over.
I listened to so many RJ interviews in the past week, and I'm like, man, he's just
He needs to
so
put out an Audible. Put it right there in his head.
like, he just took that picture of, you know, it's hard to keep the boys all together for the picture to be still, and I'm just like, my heart, man.
Yeah.
Like, dang,
RJ
this guy
is
seems
my
nice.
EV's equivalent of Craig.
Yeah, no, he is. He's the electric vehicle Craig Federighi, absolutely. In all the interviews, he was, there were parts where he did online interviews, and someone would say something like, he wouldn't hear them correctly, and he'd be, "Oh, sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't quite catch that." "Oh, okay, yeah. Here's how I can answer that." And he found like a chill way when they would ask questions that they're not ready to disclose. He
Yeah.
would just say, "Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. We're gonna get there, I promise, and I'm very excited to show you." And it's just the PR on this man. He reeks of good PR. I feel like the company could
He
be on
reeks of-
fire. There could be no cash left. They're about to die, and he would just be like, "Hi, everyone. We're very excited." And we'd go, "Okay, yeah, sounds good. Thanks, RJ." So yeah, there's definitely a brand power aspect, which is why when people ask me, "Do you think Rivian will make it?" I think they will, but I do think it's going to be a very close.
Yeah,
They're
there's
going
a
to be in the
cautionary
midst of
tell
a production
there
hell.
that we're being
It's
realistic
going to
about.
suck.
Yeah.
2 years from now, it's going to be really, really dire, and a bunch of people are going to be like, "You're about to go bankrupt," and they're going to go, "Yeah, but R2 is awesome, and we're going to sell a crap ton of them." So it's going to be close, but I think they'll make it. I could be wrong.
To be honest, I had a thought that I don't think I've ever told you guys this, and why maybe I'm stupidly optimistic about Rivian surviving. If they're in a point where they might die, it is not out of this realm of it. This has happened before, that the government will come in and save them. And
It's true. Well, we don't know which government we're dealing
right.
with.
As of right now, Biden's government does not like Tesla.
That's true.
So, if Mr. Biden gets
Does he like Rivian, though? I think
Huh?
he likes the union-backed automakers.
He's more of a Ford and GM guy.
Ford was around, started their
And Trump
business.
hates everyone.
Ford, I was there.
They're not long enough, Elon.
Folks.
The range is too low.
Here's the deal. I was working. I was 23 years old when Ford first opened their factory doors. Yeah, it was a big deal. I was there.
Yeah, and I got hairy legs.
My social
My
security
first car
number
was
is
the
one.
first car. Yeah, I don't know. We could be in a very different world by that point. Who knows?
I
We're
would
gonna
not
be
put
deep
it
in
past.
the administration of someone else.
That's true. That's in 2 years. It's either we are riding the train that is the Biden administration's government, or we right back to Trump. How did we get here? How did we?
I'm not sure which is worse at this point.
Why do we get the oldest people who have ever lived to be the top two? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Encounter dinosaurs.
Jeez, I'm having weird flashbacks like this. Anyway. So, but I all that to say that it has happened before that the U.S. government has bailed out GM. They have bailed out. They bail out like we're supposed to.
Well,
let
they they employed a lot of people. Rivian's laying off more people, so that's
Right.
not a good.
But now, when I think of optics, we are saying that we have to accelerate the transition to electric vehicles. And what better story in a worst case scenario? And it doesn't even have to be Rivian. It could be any of them. Even Aptera. It's something that's so niche that, like, if they were at the point where it's like, we're done, we have to file for bankruptcy, we have to shut doors, and then the government's like, lifeline. And that happens, people are going to be
nice.
angry and mad that happened, as they always do. And I understand. But me being the EV enthusiast that I am, I would rather a bailout happens to a startup that's trying to do the right thing, that we understand is the right thing, over saving GM or Ford or literally any of them, those other guys.
How do we save the Hummer?
Oh,
The Hummer's going out of business.
But
What do we
it's
do?
American history. The Chevy has been around, and like, no. Sometimes we
The
need-
Hummer has assisted the military with so many invasions.
Jeez.
We need to protect it. I don't know.
we have
I
to
think
get ready.
Aptera deserves funding and to be bailed out more than anyone because they would need the least of anyone. So if we're gonna ask the taxpayers to bail someone out, it's like Aptera would need the amount of money the postal service uses in a month to get into production. Just give it to them.
I just don't. I think ultimately, when it comes to companies that are trying to do the right thing, I have a soft spot, and that's my bias, and I acknowledge my bias, and I wouldn't want to bail out Ford or Chevy or I wouldn't, but I would bail out. I would even bail out Tesla still. I would bail out Tesla. I would bail out Rivian or Aptera.
Would you bail out Dodge?
Oh, Mike. For you and your truck buddy, I would give you the world.
I don't own a Dodge.
No, you would want one. No, you want the Ram? Is the Ram still your secret saving grace? Huh? Yeah, you want
the Ram
Wait,
Charger.
are you saying would they bail out just Dodge, not Stellantis?
That's what I'm saying. Just Dodge.
No, you got to do that thing where
it's
you
like
merge.
bailing out just the Hummer.
You got to bail out Chevy.
It doesn't
they
have
to
its brand
merge
anymore.
with Chrysler, or is it Chevy? No, Chrysler has to merge with Mercedes again, and then they have to be like oil and water and be like, this is still not working, and then.
I hate how many sub-brands there are. May I just add? This is an example of the mess that is Legacy Auto. I just want to applaud Rivian's simplicity of the lineup. It is so easy to remember, just R1, R2, R3, instead of BZ4X. God.
Oh, you're talking about make and model names. I was thinking, well, there's the Hyundai Motor Corporation, there's the BMW Group, there's the VW Group, there's Geely, there's Stellantis, there's Daimler, there's the Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi Alliance.
It's annoying with the sub-brand. Well, they're partially owned by this, but then they're also their own thing, but then this is a collaboration. It's like, oh my God.
That's how messy it is. That's how we need to have a soft reset of some kind.
Rivian's, that's the beauty of the EV transition. We're having this big soft reset of the auto market. I love their lineup on their website. They have all four. Whoever did their web design is fantastic. Fisker's website sucks, by the way. I was using it a lot, and it's just broken and glitchy. You can't configure vehicles on a phone. It just tells you to go to the desktop. And I was like, if this is how your website is designed, I don't want to imagine what your car software is like.
You don't like the rolling banner on the left that just says Fisker forever?
Oh my God. They have to do their stupid 3D views. You can scroll it. You just click and drag and it spins. It's like, oh God. But no, Rivian had their lineup of just R1T, R1S, R2, R3, and the quadrant. You know how we feel about the quadrant.
It's true.
Oh, it was so good.
True.
It's just such a solid lineup. Apple, you could buy Rivian.
Oh my God! I will be the biggest Apple sheep. I
think I'd have to buy a Rivian at that point.
I think I would have a
contractually.
Straight aneurysm if that happened, and I would just something would break in me, like internally. I would need to go get medical attention because I wouldn't be able to handle all that amazingness. Project Titan was an acquisition all along, and oh my God! This is why I can't be in a position of leadership like in the government or a CEO because I would do reckless things like that. Thank God. We are buying Rivian's gonna I would just be completely subjective in my own decision making. Randy. All this.
I'd vote for either of you, honestly.
Next year I'm eligible to run for president. That's something.
Randy for president, 2028.
2028, I'll be eligible.
Voting for anyone else. Can I tell you this idea that's sprouted, this tiny seed of an idea that's sprouted in my mind that I can't get out of, though? I'm sorry, I'm still on the next gen vehicle thing.
Okay.
But Tesla is the kind of company to boast how affordable the new vehicle is that they would let you buy it with enough referral credits.
No, I don't think that's happening. I don't think so.
Like the Roadster?
At one point, At one point, yeah, I mean,
Well,
at
that
one
was
point they said, let's
that's
give away the Roadster
that was
for
a
50 referrals.
Granted, they underestimated social media.
That's not our problem.
Granted, they did. That's However, they might do it again. I'm saying they'd be far more likely to give away the next gen vehicle because it'll be the cheapest car they've ever made than a Roadster. And at one point, they were selling the full self-driving package for 120,000 credits.
Mm-hmm.
So if they eventually, I'm not saying at launch
For
they'll do the Founder Series and everything.
240,000 credits.
No, it'd be 200, maybe 250,000 credits relative to full self-driving costing 12 grand or 120,000 credits, then a $25,000 car for 250,000 credits roughly translates. So that is now my backup plan. I want to see if this is possible.
Drew is a point hoarder.
It's true.
Nah,
It's true.
I don't think so. I think what's more
You
like
refer 25 people to buy a Tesla, you get a free car. There you go.
I mean,
They're going to need people to refer Model Ys and 3s at that point. Oh my God. Especially with the R3 out, right? No one's going to want.
I disagree. It just expands the pool. Yeah, it decreases the pool for R1T and R1S by a tad, but for those that want the capabilities and the luxury and the utility and the equipment, I guess that's all the same thing, for the R1 platform, then they go for that.
I'm talking R2, R3.
Yes.
They're going to be out by then.
Yes, but I'm still saying the same thing. Is that even if they exist, there still exists that portion of the market that wants something a little bit more lavish and expensive that has a lot more capability and luxury.
Yeah, but not profitably, which
No,
they kind of need R2 and R3 to.
that doesn't mean that you just shut down the Model S and Model X. Model S and X still exist. So R1T and R1S.
For now.
And also you could carry that over, not just because Tesla did it. Rivian can do it. You could carry that to all the other brands. So
Elon might do some more controversial things. Might
and that is
might keep people from wanting to buy a Y or a 3.
and that is
They're
why
going to need the referral credits.
all that audience that doesn't want to go for the Tesla and the 25K vehicle and the Rivians are too expensive, they go for the Dodge Daytona or Dodge Charger Daytona.
Oh God.
he wants to talk
Mike.
about this so bad.
Hey, Hasael wanted me to talk about it, so your own biggest fan, Drew, wanted me to talk about it. I think it's time.
Well, he knows how I feel.
I think they want you to rant on something, so I'm just giving them what they want at this point because I'm going to tell you everything, and then you just get to
I'm
hear.
an old man now. I don't have that rant-worthy heart in me anymore.
Well, let's see if you do. So
It's a young man
200
sport.
260 to
I can feel the cringe.
260 to 300 miles of range, 496 to 670 horsepower, with a 2-door and 4-door variant, with the beautiful Fratzonic external speaker on the back. 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, with the R-wing aero surface on the front of it, pretty much a spoiler on the front of the car. And also power shot instant acceleration boost. Comes with 20-inch wheels.
Power shot?
Yeah.
Is that another way of saying it's an electric car?
No, the power shot is a button that gives you instant acceleration for either overtaking people or doing something else. It's the same thing that Porsche's doing.
Oh, so it's a pedal.
No, it's a
gas
button.
pedal.
It's a button.
So it's a button that does what a pedal is supposed to do.
No, it gives you a little bit more acceleration than what is available with the pedal.
Well, that's dumb.
Not really if you
Why
need
not
to
just
overtake
put it
someone.
in the pedal?
Because
Why can't I just push the pedal if I need to overtake
Do
someone?
you need all that power in the pedal, or does it make sense to have some of it in the
If I
button?
push it down all the way, then yes, right? That's what it's for.
Possibly, but it gives you another way of interfacing with the power of the vehicle with a button.
You want me to push it with 2 appendages instead of 1?
Sure, if it means that you are intentionally trying to overtake someone. Along
It's
with
not fast either, by the way. It's not a fast EV.
0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Yeah, it's not the fastest. It was never meant to be the fastest.
It's never meant to exist.
This is also not the
This is a
Banshee.
joke.
This is the Daytona. I don't think it's the Hellcat and the SRT, I believe, is what they're quoting. Along with that,
I just don't believe anyone genuinely wants this. There are people who are mildly interested in it, but no one I've seen or talked to online that would say, yeah, I would buy that.
interesting.
Everyone's like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's
Yeah.
like, just make one. Do that what Ford did with that electric old F-100 or whatever it was, like the 50s looking truck that just happened to be an EV. Just make one of them to appease all the crowds. But this does not need to be mass produced. A 6,000-pound vehicle with 2 doors.
It's also got a driver experience recorder, which I could see as being a nice future-proof design for a Sentry mode-like feature with the vehicle. But they, of course, frame it as a audio-visual lap recording system, which makes sense because it's on their brand.
So it can record its speakers.
It does both audio and video. So yes, either it's speakers on the Fratzonic external speaker and or anything else going on the track with tire squeal or wind noise.
Amazing. So if I brought the Rivian Bluetooth speaker with me to a muscle car meetup and I connected my phone to the speaker and started playing revving sounds, do you think I would get a lot of nods of approval and thumbs up? Like, wow, yeah, that car sounds great.
Well,
Rev it up.
doesn't look like a Daytona, so I would say most likely not. And along with that, the Fratzonic external speaker apparently is louder than the Hellcat exhaust system, or the Banshee, I think.
So if I got a concert speaker set up and threw it in the bed and it was twice as loud as the average Daytona exhaust, do you think it'd be more nods of approval because it's louder?
Probably not. But along with that, yeah, like you said, about 6,000 pounds in weight. It's their first EV. You gotta give them a break. Along with that, 11.5. Okay, 11.5 second quarter mile, which is not bad. And
It's heavier than a Plaid with less practicality and slower somehow.
Boy, I'm sold.
it is a muscle car.
Actually, it's much heavier than a Model 3 Performance and slower and with less doors, less practicality.
It's not meant to be a practical
I'm
car.
honestly
I think your mind space,
You do-
Drew, is all about efficiency and utility.
no, even
that's
as a
not what this car
performance,
is about.
I don't get it. Performance people like lower weight, right?
It depends
That's
on
why
what it needs, but
people
yeah.
bought Porsche 911s and prefer the gas sports cars over the Taycons is because they're lighter weight. So their handling's better.
Brownlee.
But no, that's straight up what people have told me. They're like, a Taycan can't replace a 911 because gas cars are much lighter. So now you've got all the weight, none of the performance.
3.30 to
What's the-
60, it's not a bad performance metric.
And it's not good for the price and the weight either. I mean, what for much cheaper. I mean, you can get much faster cars for a fraction of the price that
It's already
New
faster
War.
than
That's
a regular
ignoring-
SRT. The regular SRT is around 4.1 seconds, so it is quicker than what Dodge already provided for the regular SRT. So it is an improvement in
Okay.
speed.
it's not as improved as it could be is my point. I'm just trying to figure out where all the weight went. Why is it 6,000 pounds?
Well, That's a good question. It is a 100 kilowatt hour battery, or 100.5 kilowatt hour
So it's a
battery, I
Model
believe.
S.
Yes. But along with that, I would,
Model X is lighter. Where did this weight go? In the vibration motor?
it is a wide vehicle. That's something that you need to consider. Is that it's decently wide compared to a Model S. The Dodge is, I got it right here in my spreadsheet. It is much longer in terms of Model S. Model S is around 100. Well, okay, it's not much. Okay, 198 inches versus 206.6 or 207 inches in length. In width, it's a lot wider. It's was it 80 inches in width for the Dodge versus 73 or 78 for the S.
So it's an inch wider on either side.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's got some big
an
fat
extra
tires on it
2,000
as well.
pounds.
It's got some performance fat rear wheel tires for
Yeah.
whatever drag.
You're going to need those tires to see the back of a Model 3 Ludicrous going past you. That's an important feature.
Yeah. They didn't announce price, I believe, but I'm sure that it probably comes at a lower price than a Model S.
I'm not convinced. 100 kilowatt hour battery, vibration motor, 6,000 pounds of something. Usually the heavier it is, the more mass went into it. I don't think it's going to be cheap.
Well, it does have 23 cubic feet of storage in the back before you fold down the seats. And it's a hatchback, pretty much.
Ooh. Do the front row seats fold flat?
No, but
Control
no other car really had that going for until recently. So you can't just say, well, it's not better than... Doesn't matter.
I just think
None of those
it's a
vehicles
waste of
exist yet.
cells. I don't think there's demand for this.
Brain
product, personally.
cells.
It's my same opinion of the Hummer. It's like you could have put those same cells in a cheaper mass market vehicle that there's actually demand for, and yet they are going to complain that, oh, well, we don't have the production capacity to build enough of these cars. And it's because they diversified the lineup too much.
Interesting. How would you suggest
my-
then Dodge utilizes the cells in order to survive?
I don't know what family of vehicles Dodge owns. Don't they make minivans?
They got the Hornet.
I would make a minivan.
Oh, that's not a minivan.
I bet you could
the
make-
Hornet's a crossover.
I bet you could make a minivan faster than the Daytona. Pretty easily. Just don't make it 6,000 pounds.
Well, they got the
That's all.
Durango. They've got currently right now the Hornet, the Charger, the Challenger, and the Durango, in which the Charger and the Challenger are going away for the Charger Daytona. And then the Hornet's a hybrid, and the Durango I don't think is a hybrid.
Or
they-
a truck. There's a lot of demand for trucks. If
They
you
don't
wanna
make
sell
trucks.
high price stuff.
Dodge doesn't make trucks
yeah.
anymore. Ram makes trucks. Dodge doesn't.
Not my problem. But I think that muscle cars should continue to be muscle cars. And if you're going to make an electric car, you should focus on the advantages of making an electric car. To me, this just seems like you tick off both parties, because I feel like most muscle car fans aren't going to enjoy a much heavier vehicle that just plays engine sounds with a speaker. I don't see that winning over gas engine people, personally.
Well, some people are
But-
simple. We still laugh at fart jokes.
Yeah, we laugh. We don't spend 60 grand on fart jokes, usually. I mean,
No, but the fart joke can go 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, has a hatch, and also has a frunk, a 1.5, I think, cubic foot frunk, which is a lot better than anyone else
ooh. A frunk.
compared to, I guess, well,
Yeah.
a lot of makers of EVs these days. They can't even fit a frunk in there.
I just think it confuses both parties. The gas car fans are going to go, what? That's weird. I need my gas car. Because at the end of the day, at least the one we're talking about here, is still an electric vehicle. You can pretend it's gas. You can put vibration in it. You can make it sound like an engine. But you're still going to have to go to an Electrify America station. You're still going to have to understand charging curves. You're still going to have to charge it to 80% to prevent degradation.
You
Why would a
don't-
muscle car fan want to put up with all these electric vehicle new tips, and I got to change the way I use this, and I got to install a home charger? Why, like, you want to make this transition but also bring everything over with it? Like, I don't see
Start
that.
early as early as you can, in which if you want to wait a year, I believe they're making a gas version of the new Daytona Charger with a inline 6. But otherwise, it's better to
That would
get
make
in
more
and try to
sense to
figure
me.
out how to carve out your own space now than to wait and figure it out later. Ford's doing it one way with trying to prove out the technology with the Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning. And so that'll pave the way for hopefully the Mustang Coupe EV eventually. And then Chevy, they're doing something with their old team packs. So that'll
Blazer.
somehow pave the way for their Camaro. But we'll see. But I'd say now is better than never. And if Dodge wants to survive, and it may not be the best first-gen product, that's okay. They got time to figure it out.
I agree. Now's better, but this isn't it.
It's not it for you. But I'm sure for
I
those...
would say it's not it for anybody. Are you going to buy one? Like,
No, because my wife is at her heart a Mustang diehard. And so if there is going to be a EV muscle car that we go for, it's going to be the Ford. Otherwise, the truck is the truck. It only serves the purpose of being a truck. It's not meant to be the fast, fun car on the weekends. That's meant for what we have right now, which is the crossover SUV,
yeah,
being the Model Y.
I agree.
So
I just think that there's nothing about, like, to me, calling it a muscle car just seems like an excuse for weak performance and specs. It's like, if it wasn't a muscle car, we would just say it's a bad product. But because it's muscle car, we excuse all of its shortcomings.
yeah. Well, time will tell is at least my defense for it, in which it's okay to disagree on this, of course. But I think that there is still a market out there for it.
Fight him, Mike. Stand
Where-
your ground.
Where there is a...
I think it'll be like the Hummer, where they pile up at dealers and no one can move them. But you're right. I can't tell the future, so maybe I'm wrong and everybody will pick them up. But I haven't met anyone who told me they want one online or in person.
Well, that's
Ask
not
me
the
if I
crowd that
want
hang
one.
around, Drew.
You both overspoke. I couldn't hear what either of you said.
Oh, okay. That's not the crowd that you hang around, though, Drew. You don't hang around muscle heads or diesel heads or anything like that.
I know a few. I know a guy with a lifted, Chevy pickup, and I know several Charger owners, gas Chargers, obviously, and they're very anti EV people. There's a lot of muscle car heads in
Sure, and it's going to take
my
time.
social circles, and they are not interested at all in switching to an EV.
No, especially when
like-
you can still get a bunch of Chargers and Challengers straight from the dealer and nearly straight from the company. I guess you still have to go through the dealer today. But once that option goes away, are you going to want to just throw your hat at Tesla and say, okay, I'll go for what you got? Or do you want to go for the muscly roots of what you're comfortable with? It's the look and feel is what I'm trying to get at for this product.
Yeah, I think everyone just go used before they buy that thing. 6,000-pound behemoth with speakers that sound like, I don't know. I feel like we're gonna look back at this as a big joke. I don't think this is going to age well. Like, I don't think anyone will remember the engine sounds coming out of speakers as, oh, they were really onto something there. It's like a horse that drops it's a car that drops horse poop out the back.
Is this the vehicle that makes the really, really loud revving?
Mm-hmm.
I see why you two are on the stances that you are. We talked about this last year. Drew hates the thing because those things scared his niece.
Oh, that too.
Like
And
it's
maybe I
obnoxiously loud
feel,
for no reason.
and my neighbor has one, and that might be why I'm so against it. maybe, maybe when you live in a nice secluded area, you don't have to worry about it as much. But when your neighbor in the middle of the night, like, you're like, nope, not not about that. Not not gonna like that. Um, yeah, I think it's too distorted. It's going after two different markets, and neither market wants it because it's just if you make it that close to a gas vehicle, they're just gonna want gas. Like, I'm not against there being two door, fast performance oriented vehicles that are affordable. I just think we're setting the standards way too low by saying, well, it's a muscle car, therefore it can have weaker specs and it can
Well, what else are we supposed to
cost
have,
like
Drew?
way,
The
way more.
Roadster isn't here.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point that you brought up, Randy. The only thing I could kind of compare it to is the Roadster from 2008, in which costed $100,000, I think. Had 244 miles of range, only had a 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, could only seat two, and then also could not charge at really any public chargers. Or if it did, I forget if it was a proprietary port or not. I'd have to look at that again.
It was.
So it
Yeah,
sounds
it was
very
proprietary.
familiar to a brand that you love and hold dear and use their referral credits a bunch. Not saying that Dodge is the next Tesla, but what I'm getting at is very similar products, even though that they came from different backgrounds.
Well, in a very different times. Tesla
That
didn't
too.
have a big Tesla to compete with. Dodge has everybody else to compete with.
They don't have another muscle car to compete with in the EV space.
No, they just have much cheaper, much faster cars.
Yep.
That are much lighter.
And there's much cheaper,
So
much faster cars that the Roadster had to compete with as well in its time. That were gas.
Faster?
Yeah. It's 0 to 60 is 4.4 seconds. There were cars back
Yeah,
in
but what were
2008 that
other-
were quicker.
At what price?
I'd have to do some research, but I could get back to you on that.
I'm pretty sure it was pretty rare at the time. There was a lot of demand because they were like supercar specs with electric powertrain being more affordable. I don't know. There were probably cars faster, but I don't think they were at the same price range, and also not as environmentally friendly. But Tesla was at the very beginning of this big transition, whereas I just think we're excusing too many weak specs for what it is. It's like what's stopping you from making a two-door, you could call it a muscle car, sure, but like that's lighter weight, better handling, faster acceleration, when we know that you can make these things much, much faster than that.
You can, but you see Toyota and Subaru struggling with theirs, and yet they've got the brand power. Dodge also has the brand power. And yet the BZ4X and the Subaru just don't perform well compared to the Model Y. You can compare everything to the Model Y, which is very efficient and cheap and fast and very performance heavy. But some people don't want to buy that.
Yeah, I guess. I really want to meet this person who plans on buying one. That apparently exists. I want to find this person and ask them, because I keep hearing people talk about there are people, but I don't I don't know where they are. How about you, Randy? I haven't heard your thoughts on this. You've been awfully quiet over there in your corner.
He's been enjoying the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I was letting the terrain do its thing, and once the land has shifted and mountains had formed after all that, then I'll plant my flag. Unfortunately, I don't have anything of value to add to the conversation. So basically, me all the time for any podcast we do. But with that being said, I just don't know enough about the vehicle to even comment. So I'd rather not waste of time with dead air on stuff that I'm just be fluffing it anyway. I know so little about it. I
That's okay.
I
You
got
can
nothing.
fluff.
Oh, okay. Well, to Mike's point, there are idiots out there. No, I'm joking. I just I just wanted Drew to spit up water.
It's becoming a common
Ow.
theme now.
All right.
Ugh, I gotta stop drinking when you're talking.
See? To Drew's point, and he re-drank his water. I missed my window. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't know enough to say anything about it. I'm always hesitant about anything legacy auto trying to do an EV just because it was you, Drew. It was your video. I was like, wait, somebody talked about this. There's just like an aesthetic thing on the inside, the part that matters as the captain of your ship, and yeah, it's for whatever reason the aesthetic hasn't caught on like I was hoping by now, and I'm just more skeptical about. The truth is, look, I still got rose-colored R3 glasses on, so I feel like I can't. Like everything looks so cool.
R3's hard to beat.
Everything looks so cool that I don't like with Legacy. I'm like the last one that ever had my attention was Volvo, and I'm like, well, nope, never mind. Nope, that's long since died now. And yeah, there's just something about not build quality, but just design about Legacy. I'm not excited for, because maybe it's too similar, so they can try to bridge the gap of people who are kicking and screaming about transitioning to EVs. And I know a lot of people like that who don't want an EV, and they're like, I'll go when the government comes and takes it, but over my cold dead body with my Second Amendment, like those types of people. They're not gonna give up their gas vehicle for nothing.
Oh yeah, I know him too.
Yeah,
I know him too.
so not that I'm obviously not that. My whole household, well, at least my cars, they're all EVs, so I'm a little bit more open-minded. But I do have certain reservations about Legacy Auto trying to do EV the right way. And the longer we wait and we see this happen, I don't know, the less faith I have that they're gonna get it right. And then I'm just gonna say, like, just get a Tesla, just get a Rivian, just get a if Lucid was a real company, I would say just get a Lucid too. Like anybody who's just post Legacy like that, that is shipping vehicles, I would say just get one of those. But realistically, like if I'm trying to be objective and not biased by any means, the only thing I would tell people is just get a Tesla. Like, yeah, but Elon was like, Elon didn't build the thing with his own hands. He didn't sign it. It's not the inside of a Macintosh, okay? Relax. It's fine. You like saving money, don't you? Look, this is how much I spent with charging, even at home, over the like. That's the pitch I make to anybody who's like, oh, but it's expensive. It's like, no, it's really not though. I promise it's not. But it needs to charge quicker, and so I can get it back on the road. Well, touche. I got nothing for that one, but it's not that it's not that serious. It's really not. As a cross-country traveler of nothing but EVs, I can say it's not that serious. Take the break. Stretch your legs. Pay the 15 cents. Okay, pay the 35 cents a kilowatt hour.
Thanks for
It's
adjusting
okay.
for
It's
California
going up.
prices.
No, it's out here too, man. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I just like to say, just pay the 15 cents. But pay the 35 cents kilowatt. It's fine. It's okay. Yeah. Well, this
Fair
has been
points, though, Drew. Fair points.
Rivian. This has been riveting.
And I'll concede, nothing else that I could suggest would look like Daytona. So if it's the look they're going for, that's the only electric way to get it, I guess.
I think the look is great. I think the specs need work, but I excuse that with it being the first gen. So I think they've got room to grow, and that's what I'm holding out hope for.
Do you guys?
Lots of room.
I'll tell you what I was doing while you guys were Duel of Fatesing it over there.
Got Dual Fates right in front of me on the poster. Anyways,
I like that because fate, as in they're doomed.
we both were doomed at the end.
I priced out. I think I might make a weekly tradition just to see. To get the exact Rivian that I want if I was to get one. Still the R1T.
Oh yeah.
And really
It's a solid
the
truck.
only thing I changed was the color inside and out. So 73 650. That's my price. I have been a changed man about range. You guys, I don't know if you've talked in my ear long enough after all these years, but I am not interested really in the higher range config. Well, you know what it is? It's the freaking price. I'm not gonna pay no 19,000 for 400 miles. Get out of here! No way! No way! It's
Nah.
like buying all this extra SSD when I just need RAM, and the RAM is the all-wheel drive. It's the motors. Oh my god, that's such a cool comparison. That's exactly what it is. I'd rather spec out my RAM equivalent over the SSD. Woo! I am a genius, Randy. Good job. That's what it is. Don't make the mistake again.
Wait, are we still talking about RAM now?
RAM? Oh.
Versus the SSD,
Unified RAM.
the new
Unified
EV coming next year.
Dodge.
No, I was gonna say that the RAM charger and the truck hybrid and full electric are more interesting and exciting to me. Those are fascinating. Like, let's figure out what this market is interested in. Let's try to tackle it. And
I still want an R1T because secretly before Rivian, I wanted a Tacoma and I was saving for that. That would have been my first truck. I've never owned a truck. I'm barely qualified to say I've driven
Wow.
a truck.
I owned a truck
Never.
for several years. It was my only vehicle.
We need to
I'm not
take
gonna
your
lie, I
miss
American
it.
card away, Randy. You're not American unless you own a truck.
I know. I feel like such a hippie San Diegan who basically was living off the land on the beach, taking
Yeah,
whatever the
man.
seagulls wouldn't. I feel so.
Below Seagulls.
I'm not qualified enough to even say that I've even really driven a truck. If I did, it was for a very short distance, somewhere and back. Like my father-in-law has a. Is it a Ram or is it a Ford? Oh, that would have been a mix. Either way, he has one of them. See, that's how little I've been behind. I don't even know what kind he has. And I drove it a whole maybe 400 meters to the closest gas station to fill up extra gas so I could put it into the jet skis I was driving. And that was literally my most exposure to driving a truck. I am not a truck guy, but I am a small truck guy. So I really wanted a Tacoma, and the Rivian, just like you guys have had the luxury of seeing those things. So I think at the end of the day, outside of an R3 or an R whatever, like my today's dream vehicle is still probably a truck, and what better one than the one I have hard eyes for. And for 73, you know what's crazy? That's not really that much different from a gas truck. Ish. It's a little more premium side, but
Yeah, factor in some fuel savings. You got a point.
but dude, and then the rebates and tax incentives and all that too. Oh
Yeah.
man.
And it's a Rivian. I mean, that in itself sets it apart.
Yeah. So
The interior, the software, the gear tunnel, all
I'll
that.
probably-
But I hear you. I'm with you. I've wanted a Cybertruck for a while now, just because I miss tailgating. I did that a lot with my old truck, and I was like, man, that was fun.
yeah.
We just pulled up places, and we all just like sat in the back, and
I
We
can't.
could throw my bikes in the bag instead of fussing around with these bike racks and
Right.
tow trailer hitches and hooking them up that way. It's just nice having a bed.
Yeah.
I kind of miss those days.
I feel like I just can't justify spending that type of money really ever on really anything like that when it comes
Welcome
to
to most of the EV community, Red.
I know. I know. So
Cybertruck's cheaper once the non-foundation comes out.
Or just wait
I
for
mean,
Tello.
we'll see. I will always play the
Or
game.
Tello.
Ooh, now that's a story for another day. Regardless, if I ever buy another
He's
vehicle,
reserve 5.
I will save up a lot of cash. I don't know if I'll pay it out outright, but I will try to, and I won't take it seriously until then because, like, when you have that type of cash on hand, like at least if you're fiscally, disciplined, you really look at things through a different lens. Like all that, like I did all this. Where am I gonna park this money? Am I buying it on something that's just now gone? Am I investing it? Am I paying off a house or trying to buy a house? Even like you think about all those things, paying off debt. Like your headspace when you got, let's say, $73,000 in hand, that does something to you. That changes things. So I don't know if I could ever justify spending that type of money on a vehicle, period. But as I say that, when I realized we spent like $70,000 on the Y, but that was Brittany's, so that's her. That's her burden to bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Any closing thoughts, James?
I still want an R3.
I pitched the R3 to my
Me
mother,
too.
and she liked it. So
Good. There you go.
Might-
We got 3 sales already.
Boom.
Referral program, Rivian.
Who's the
Let's
third?
get on it.
Wait, who's the third? Me, Mike's mom,
Oh,
you.
well, I said I want one, but we'll see. We'll see what the market's like at that time because I don't know what time it's launching. Rivian won't say. Just not before first half of
Come on, Drew.
2026.
We're used to this. This is the Cybertruck for years, and we never gave up.
I know. The hype is more fun than
we're
the actual
conditioned.
delivery.
Yeah, I don't care
Yeah.
when it comes because I'm already conditioned to just wait.
Yeah, we're
Hurry
waiting
up and
for
wait.
something either way.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know. I love steer-by-wire. I've just seen so many demos of it, and I really want that too. There's so much cool stuff coming.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll be here to cover
All right.
it and check it out eventually.
Hey.
But Fisker won't. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take
Thanks for
care.
killing a
Bye-bye.
company, Marquez.